Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, the weather's being weird here today in the Ozarks. We're getting a cold front moving through. Not like freezing, snowing cold, but much cooler than what it's been. We've had record high temperatures the last few days, or near record high. Anyway, so this cold front's moving through, and they were predicting some very strong, severe weather. Large hail, potential for tornadoes, strong winds. If whatever reason it stopped doing that threat, but we are getting some pretty severe heavy winds going through. Not tear your roof off heavy, but definitely some strong winds. So, but you can feel the cool, man. The temperature's dropping rapidly. But we've been kind of on a little bit of alert, because it's potential for storms, and not just as homesteaders, but also that's just what we do around here. We prepare for storms, and when they hit, we go into action. Our team, our little homestead group that started the emergency response team that's now working in the county and stuff. We help out with storm shelters and disaster response, all that kind of stuff. So when this kind of weather hits, we go into action. That's leading me into the next thing I want to talk about. And I talked about it this morning. If you watched this morning's video, I talked about the news side of what happened yesterday, where it looks like that there was a cyber attack on the 911 emergency systems. That's the best that I can find. I mean, there are some talk about potentially a fiber optic line being cut, but there are numerous reports all across the country of 911 systems not functioning. I even got one, I believe the person was up in the Pacific Northwest saying that their county 911 was down, but there were, I think, 10 or 11, maybe 12 different states that it was happening. And not the entire state, a couple of were, but most of them were just parts of that state that the 911 system was down. And again, I know I talked about it a little bit this morning, but honestly, as I thought about it today, and you know, I just mentioned we have an emergency response team, if you didn't know, and we're an auxiliary of the local fire department. So there's been a lot of talk and discussion within the fire department today also of, well, what would happen if that happens here? What are we going to do? So reevaluating our plans of how would people get a hold of us if there was an emergency and there's no 911 system. And so as I was thinking about it today more and more, I thought, you know, this may be one of the more serious things, or at least noticeable things, that's happened to us here in the United States from a preparedness point of view. I mean, it's not bombs falling out of the sky. It's not, you know, infrastructure being destroyed, but it was a cyber attack to what looks to be a lot of 911 emergency systems. It's interesting that the news media is almost silent on it. I mean, there's a little bit out there, but not a lot. I would think that this would be a front page story. Yesterday morning before this happened, DHS issued a warning that this very exact same thing could happen. So is it a real attack or is it an inside job? Who knows? And then today, the FBI issued a very similar warning that, you know, there are pretty much immediate threats that they believe Chinese hackers are targeting the emergency systems here in the United States. So we could certainly see more of this. Now, this is something that we should really be thinking about. This is actually, I think, more serious than a lot of people. I think they just kind of glaze over. Well, you know, the average person, I don't know what any kind of numbers are, but being someone that takes 911 calls, responds to them, and has done in the past and previous line of work, I would guess the average person rarely would ever use 911. In fact, probably a lot of people may go their whole lives without having to call a 911 for assistance. There's the repeat offenders, those of you that are any type of LEOs or EMS or, you know, fire, you know that there's those people that just, they call every time they get a sniffle or there's a problem or a noise outside. But the average person doesn't. They understand that that's for serious emergencies. And when there is a serious emergency, that's when you need help. Whether it's a prowler outside, someone coming through your front door, you fell and seriously critically injured yourself, you've having a heart attack, stroke. There's all sorts of real vehicle accident. There's all sorts of real possibilities out there. These things happen every day. This is what I try to get across in my videos, is that while most certainly we should be training tactically, we should be having the equipment, the gear, the tools, and the training to become proficient as much as we can to defend ourselves, to protect our homes, to protect our communities. Absolutely, completely, you and your wife, you and your husband, if you're married, you need to be training together. If you have children in the home that are old enough, teenagers and stuff, they should be training. You should be working with people in your community, your neighbors, whoever. But that's really one piece of the puzzle. I say all the time that there are accidents and emergencies that happen every day already, right now. Houses catch on fire, fields catch on fire, barns catch on fire, and all the other stuff I've just previously mentioned. Those things are real, and they really do happen all the time, and can be guaranteed that they will continue to happen when things fall apart. There's no guarantee that you will need to use firearms. I mean, I understand it's likely that you will, but there's no guarantee that you will need to use them. But the emergencies, they're going to happen. And they're most likely going to happen even more often when things really fall apart. If you're more active outside, hunting and growing your own food, patrolling your property, cutting wood, things like, depending on what the collapse is, you're possibly going to become more active. So therefore, the odds are you're going to become more often injured. And when there's no emergency services there, when you can't call 911 and expect that someone's going to come and show up, that's a problem. And, we talk often about if the people that come to help aren't there, but what about when the people that come to help don't know that you need help because you can't get a hold of them? You can't call 911. It's hacked. It's down. A lot of the radio systems that are used now, because they're digital and trunking and things like that, they can be hacked or damaged by different sabotage. So it's possible that the local police department, that their comms go down. Most departments, they use different CAD systems, they use GPS systems, they use satellite, they have computers and stuff in their cars, and they use these things to find out how to get to you, whether it's medical, fire, police. They use these things to communicate, all this kind of stuff. What if those things go down? It doesn't, as we learned yesterday, it doesn't have to be a complete collapse. It doesn't have to be Armageddon or, Book of Eli or Mad Max kind of situation. I mean, things are still somewhat normal, but yet in certain places in the country yesterday, some for many hours, they had no way to get help to themselves. And I don't know the exact numbers, but the reports that I was reading, that it was in the several millions of people were without 911. What do? How do they get a hold of them? Some county emergency services, and I suspect the ones that were affected yesterday are probably going to fix this. Some of them publish non-emergency numbers. These are landline phone numbers that you can call. And remember, the landline phone numbers are a completely separate system than the 911. So if 911 was hacked and it goes down, in theory, you should still be able to use a landline phone to get through to them if they have it available. But not every place, not every 911 center publishes their non-emergency numbers. I suspect that's going to be fixed. I saw yesterday several sheriff's departments and fire departments and stuff were posting online saying, text this number, call this number. And a lot of them, it was just cell phones. Some of them, it's very possible, I'm assuming, because I work in I volunteer at a rural volunteer fire department, so I understand how things are. It may just be something as simple as like the chief or someone says, we're just going to use my cell phone. And they're posting on Facebook groups and they're posting on Twitter and places like that. If you need help, call this number, and it may just be someone's cell phone, or text it. I understand that can work, but it's certainly not as effective. It's going to slow things down and make it difficult. The point is parts of America yesterday were very likely attacked, and it brought down the emergency services systems. Think about that. Like I said this morning in the video, and I haven't seen any reports of this, is it possible that anyone died due to that? Maybe someone was having a heart attack, or maybe someone was in a car wreck, or some other type of life-threatening injury. And if they'd been normal and they could call 911 and services arrive on time, maybe their life would have been saved, versus because 911 was down, they perished. I don't know. But I know that that's a real possibility. Did a house burn to the ground because they couldn't get a hold of the fire department? I don't know. Did someone break into someone's home and steal things, or do some kind of physical harm to someone because the police couldn't be called? There's all sorts of possibilities. And it doesn't have to be an apocalyptic end of the world event for us to need to be prepared and have a plan. Just things breaking down. And if in fact this was a cyber attack, there's most likely going to be more, because it was at least somewhat successful. And if they were able to break through, it's likely they're going to continue to try until it's even more. And it could end up being nationwide. It could end up being down for days and days at a time. And what is your plan when that happens? That's the big question. What is your plan to take care of yourself, your family, the people in your mag, your tribe, your community, whatever you want to call it? Do you have a way to get a hold of each other? Maybe the entire phone systems. Maybe they take down the cell phones. Maybe they take down GPS satellites. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities when it comes to hacking that could impede your communications with people that you absolutely need to communicate with. And so you need to have a plan. Do you have a plan to put out a fire in your home? Do you have a plan to take care of medical if you can't get a hold of that? Everyone, I'm not going to pull it out, but you can see it. See that right there, the red? I've made videos over on Locals if you want to go over to Locals and watch it. But that's my scene bag that I take when I go on 911 calls as a first responder. Everyone should have one of those. I know everyone pushes IFAKs, and I have nothing against an IFAK. That's an individual first aid kit, a small kit. That's something you carry on your person. That's something that you, when you go out in the woods, or when you go hunting or fishing, or on your tactical gear. But everyone should have something like a scene bag in their home that has ample amount of medical equipment for a variety of problems. And you don't have to be an EMT to know how to use it on yourself, but you can learn certain things. You can take some advanced first aid classes. Some of it you can do online. Some of it you can watch on videos. And I'm not advocating that you do things that you see on videos, but you can learn. And then you can take some real classes. I advocate all the time that preppers should join their volunteer fire department if you have one around you. The amount of training, free training that you get is amazing. In fact, there's another YouTuber, actually I guess he got kicked off of YouTube, Risky Krisky, talking to him, and he's decided he's going to join his volunteer fire department. He sees the value in it. But you should have this kind of stuff. You should have the stuff to take care of, fires. You should have stuff to take care of other problems, including defending yourself. Because as it stands right now, the police probably aren't going to show up until after the real threat is over anyways. But what if they never show up? What are you going to do then? And so that's the real part of prepping, is to have this stuff on hand, is to have the skills on hand, to practice of how to handle things. Because help isn't always going to be there, and we should never, ever be dependent. Our plan should never primarily be to depend on outside help. Our primary plan should always be able to take care of it on our own. And so what happened yesterday with 911 going down in various parts of the country should be a huge, huge wake-up call for you. Because this could most certainly happen to maybe you someday. And it may be sooner than you think, because all of the warnings are that this is going to continue to happen. And so we need to be ready for that. We need to be stocking up. We need to be stocking up on medical stuff. We need to be stocking up on food, water purification, the tools to defend all that kind of stuff. There are some links down in the description below of companies that I work with that they sell good products. Not all of its products, but there's some good things down there, freeze-dried food, other things that you can go and check out. But we need to be doing this stuff soon, because it affected millions of people last night, and it may be millions more that could be affected in the coming days and weeks if this continues to happen. We don't know. We may never see it again, but that's not the likely odds. Folks, it's time to get your houses in order and to prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.